round of this 2013 FIA GT Series season, and we're here just outside of Bratislava, about 45-minute drive outside of Bratislava for the qualifying session ahead of the two races that will both be coming up tomorrow. It'll be a very, very busy day come tomorrow. My name's Jack Nichols. I'm here in the commentary box, and alongside me, as ever, is John Watson. John, we've been to the Slovakia ring before. It's a great little track, and it's a new circuit that has a bit of flow. It has a bit of character.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lovely racetrack, one of the most enjoyable circuits on the calendar, but 45 minutes from the city centre. Were you driving or something? Because, I mean, we did it last year in about 30. What's changed? Jack, what's going on?
Well, I was asleep on the way in, so maybe that's why I thought it was longer. There you can see the fans on the grandstands waiting to watch this qualifying session unfold, and it'll be a lot busier tomorrow after the qualifying session has taken place, because it's all racing tomorrow. We've got the qualifying race in the morning and then the main race in the afternoon, as well as an FIA Lotus Ladies Cup that's racing here as well.
Yeah, we had an event just simply a few minutes before this qualifying session gets underway, and I have to say it was a fantastic race. The battle for the lead, two Lotuses going door handle to door handle. Believe me, very unladylike, if you want to put it in that rather politically incorrect terms. They were proper racing drivers, battling it out for victory, and all through the field, super battles. Look forward to tomorrow's event as well.
So there's the pit lane camera, and you can see the number 11 machine, which is the championship leading car. Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor are in that car, and they will be heading out onto the circuit in about, 2.5 minutes time before this qualifying session gets underway. Here you can see the two of them at the head of the standings, 70 points. Sandstrom and Sippler, second in the standings, I should say, with 60 points. Only 7 points ahead of Max Buch and Alain Day. Nicky Meyer-Manoff and René Rast making it a WRT 1-2-4. Before Peter Cox and Stefan Racina, they're fifth in the championship, but they've only done one of the three races so far this season due to other circumstances. But they're back here this weekend for Stefan's home race, and they'll be hoping they can really ramp up the pressure on the championship leaders. I said to Stefan Racina yesterday, is the championship still a possibility? He said, well, we're quite far behind, but a couple of good races and we're back in it.
Well, I think you remember back to the round in Zolder. We went down to the Reiter Hospitality after the race and talking to Stefan Racina, and I pointed out to him that, you're doing a brilliant job in the car, but I could find you another, 0.3 of a second, just like that. And Hans Reiter was sitting there beside us. What is John talking about? I mean, how can you find... I said, just go on a diet, lose 10 kilograms. That is a way to find track time, and of course you'll be all the much fitter for it as well. Anyway, still a very competitive driver, and looking forward to his home event, to sealing a victory.
Absolutely, and it might be his last chance, because he actually announced yesterday that this will be his final season in motorsport. Stefan Racina, after a very successful career. He's only young, he's only 26 years old, but he's decided that the time has come to focus on the family business.
What is that?
Well, I don't actually know, John. I'll find out about that later, but he's had a very successful racing career. He's won here in FIA GT. He finished third in the Porsche Super Cup back in 2009 behind René Rast and Jeroen Bleekemolen, who won the Super Cup that year. And as a result, it's a very entertaining prospect to see him racing here at his home circuit. We also have another home driver in the form of Philippe Sledeka, who's out in the BMW Sports Trophy Team India Z4. It'll be good to see Philippe out here as well. So two Slovak drivers in the field. As we wait for this qualifying session to get underway, as ever, it will be the first session, then the second session, and then the quickest 10 cars combined from the two sessions will head through to the Super Pole, where each driver will go out in turn and get the chance to do 2 flying laps, and then that will decide pole position.
Interestingly, the driver-car combination that was quickest in the second free practice earlier on this morning, when temperatures were considerably cooler than they are right now, was Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor. And what was of interest to me was they did very few laps. They were quickest on a 2:02.4, but they only did 6 timed laps in total. That includes in and out laps. And the reason I believe they were doing that is they know that the fewer laps you can do on a set of your Pirelli tyres, but particularly where you've got really high track and ambient temperatures, the better off you'll be it for qualifying, which is beginning now, or for the two events, particularly for the championship round on the Saturday afternoon. So just it's an idea just to keep an eye on that particular WRT Audi of Ortelli and Vanthoor.
Yeah, Pierre Dieudonné described Vanthoor's lap in free practice 2 this morning as something very special. So they weren't really expecting all that pace, but they have made a few changes to the car this weekend, because there you can see, look at the rear wing on that Audi. It's the swan-necked rear wing, which is in 2013 specification, but WRT for this weekend have actually switched back to the 2012 specification in order that they therefore run to the 2012 set of regulations, which in their opinion will make them quicker, and so far that seems to be working.
Well, certainly judged by the pace of the two WRT Audis.
Look, you can see the difference there. The other one had the swan neck. This is the 2012 kind of straight ridged.
I mean, and that is what I would call more conventional in its design and in the way the rear wing and the wing flap are interacting. And those two cars were effectively the quickest two cars, covered by just over 0.6 of a second. So Nicky Meyer-Melnhof and René Rast quite a long way behind that stunning lap of Laurens Vanthoor, one that we saw earlier this morning.
Out on the circuit now is Matthias Stumpf, who's been driving this Lamborghini. He debuted it along with Jan Koenen in the last round in Zolder. Zandvoort, I should say, getting my Zs mixed up there. And that car had quite a lot of pace earlier on, you have to say. The road drive car was 9th quickest in free practice 1, but it was running towards the front throughout the whole session. As we see Nicky Meyer-Melnhof coming up to the final corner, then to start his flying lap. It's a long circuit here. I think it's the longest circuit we go to this season. Depends on the final length of the Baku circuit. It's going to be quite close between the two of them, but I think Slovakia Ring will just about be the longest circuit we go to. It's certainly the widest, 12 meters wide.
Yeah, 5.9 kilometers and a few more meters. It's a lovely racetrack, 14 turns, some really quick corners coming up main straight, or pit straight it is really the main straight, into turn 1. Easy entry, but of course you've got to get the car positioned correctly on the exit to get the drive off the corner, then up the hill. And there you can see then there's a drop down and into a stunning, quick right-hand corner. Let the car run out to the far left of the corner, and then you've got to contend with, which is a shame, the chicane. And the reason the chicane is here, it's an artificial chicane, is because the next section of traffic or circuit takes you on a flyover, but the way the flyover ends, there's quite a sharp dip, and that's to prevent cars, be it GT cars or World Touring cars who've also been here, from getting air under the front of the car, and of course the consequence of that is unimaginable.
Absolutely, and that exit of turn 2 is where Albert von Turnen Taxis had a big crash last year in the Lamborghini, which ended up being his last race of the season, and he's only done one race so far this year before making his FIA GT debut this weekend alongside reigning FIA GT1 world champion Marc Basseng. Great to have Marc back here. First time he's driven a Lamborghini Gallardo since the 2006 GT3 European Championship, so he's saying it's taking a bit of getting used to and handles a little bit differently to his front-wheel drive World Touring car.
Wolfgang Reip out in the single Nissan here this weekend, regrettably after the massive shot that Alex Buncombe had in the Blancpain 24-hour race of Spa. The team are unable to get that second car. Actually, it was going to be a new car. There was so much damage to Buncombe's car with that impact, and the outside of Eau Rouge hit it at high speed, wheel nut detached, and they decided that it's actually economically and practically easier to build a brand new monocoque or tub or whatever you choose to call it chassis in the case of the Nissan, because it is based on a road car, it isn't an out-and-out race car. So that's what they're doing, and they will be back again for the next round, and with two cars, but a competitive package with Alex Buncombe and Wolfgang Reip.
Absolutely, we're watching Albert von Turnen Taxis turn his way through the final corner. He's done the quickest middle sector of anyone, so this will be comfortably the fastest lap of the session so far as he comes out the corner and across the line to do a 2-minute 5.6. We're expecting pole position to maybe get into the 2-minute 1s, if not a mid 2-minute 2.
I think that would be a good time. Anything in the 2.2s is going to be good because, as I mentioned, we saw just a moment or two ago, the ambient and track temperatures are high. I mean, it's just a stunning day here at the Slovakia Ring, and there's little protection on the racetrack or in the pit lane from that heat and sun. So just over the course of the morning, late morning, lunchtime, early afternoon, now we're into the early evening here in Slovakia, track temperatures are high, so that usually equates to lap times not being able to match those in the cooler temperatures of earlier in the day.
Peter Cox out there on the circuit, cresting the hill in his 24 Rider Engineering Lamborghini. You can easily tell that one from the other one because it's a red machine. First time we've had...
I see that's yellow. Are you sure it's red?
Rider usually tend to bring white cars to this series, but this particular weekend they brought the red chassis. So Peter Cox, very easy to pick out, as he is half a second up on Matthias Stump, who's set the fastest time so far in this session.
And of course Peter Cox, synonymous with Lamborghinis and Gallardos in particular, and spoke to him briefly this morning, looking to try and get a good result. Lamborghini back on track. So this car, with the potential that it's got, ultimately it's going to be the car that is the easiest on its tyres. Should conditions tomorrow be similar to what they are here right now. Of course, the qualifying race will take place earlier in the morning, but the championship race will be at the peak heat of the day, as Peter Cox scythes his way through up the hill, down the other side, hard on the brakes. In the Lotus race, there was side-by-side racing through these turns, and it was great to watch.
So we saw Cox there going past Carlos Vieira. I think Vieira might have had a moment coming out of turn 8, because there was all sorts of dust being kicked up on the outside of the corner. So Cox is coming down now towards the final corner. He's had a bit of traffic to contend with on this particular lap, and because it's a longer lap, you're going to get less laps in qualifying, so less opportunities. Harry Procek has just done a 2-minute 2.949.
Correct.
Very impressive lap time, and he's a very chilled man. Now, is Peter Cox going to go quicker? No, he doesn't. So Procek remains quickest. So I was walking over from the press centre, which is in the hotel, and as I walk out, Harry Procek's there, just leaving his hotel room with his girlfriend in his shorts, just, you know, walking over. I said, Harry, you've got to do qualifying in a minute. He says, there's no worries.
Well, that is the second fastest lap all weekend by a GT car around the Slovakia ring. So good time from Harry Procek, and 2 minutes 2.949. A full almost 7/10 of a second quicker than Wolfgang Reip in the Nissan second pickers right now.
2-minute 3.644 for Wolfgang Reip. As we are watching Harry Procek coming up with a little bit of traffic in front of him. That's Albert von Taxis in the other Lamborghini. Von Taxis leaves Procek room, does he? Oof. I think he might have done, but not much room, that's for sure.
Well, did he know he was there until Harry Procek forced the issue? May not have seen him.
Quickest man in the first sector is Stephane Ortelli, the championship leader in the number 11 WRT Audi. He's done a 38.399 in sector 1, which is comfortably about 0.6 of a second quicker than Harry Procek's first sector. What's his middle sector like? A 59.3. That's pretty decent as he comes into the final corner now. We're watching the Audi, and this could be the provisional pole position time as Ortelli exits the final corner, uses all the curbing on the exit of turn 13 through the kink at 14, and Ortelli does a 2-minute 2.7 to go quickest of anyone so far today.
And watching Ortelli through those final two corners, you could see that he was releasing the car the earliest opportunity to try and avoid losing time through scrubbing speed. As we look at the McLaren coming through, and it goes, and well, Sebastien Loeb goes fourth quickest on a 203.820. But it's interesting that Stephane Ortelli not putting load into the car. Turn 13 is a high load corner in this Ferrari.
Yep. That is the 51 AF Corsa car, which has been started by it's the 50 AF Corsa. I think, well, we'll have to wait and see as it comes back onto the circuit, but that's a big moment for, I'm sure that's 51 Felipe Salaquada as they come back onto the track. Yes, it is. So it is Salaquada who's gone off.
Oh,
where's he gone off? Oh, and the entry. That's a strange place, isn't it?
I mean, that indicates there was, I mean, there's no, turn 2 is just a straightforward corner. Now, whether he just got a wheel off on the outside on the entry, trying to take too much. Let's look at the back view. As you know, this is actually recovering as he makes his way down to turn 3, but something clearly went wrong on the run down into turn 2 that saw this car, the Ferrari, run wide, and normally a part of the racetrack, that is not a problem.
So Felipe Salaquada trying to pick up his pace as we go on board with Wolfgang Reip. See if we can hear what he's saying. not quite. So Ripe is in the pits, 5th position. And he will be relatively pleased with that, I think. A 2-minute 3.644. As across the line comes the Mercedes with Karun Chandok at the wheel, turning into the right-hander. Karun had a bit of a moment earlier on.
Considerable, I would have said, and I hope he hung his head in shame, because it was way off the racetrack. We don't know what actually was the reason for, but I think some of the drivers, they're coming up to corners, they're hammering the brake. Of course, these cars got ABS brakes, and it's just adjusting both yourself to an ABS car, but also adjusting the ABS variable adjustments certainly on the Mercedes and on others. And maybe he just simply misjudged and got it wrong, but he did go a long way off.
Chandok winding his way now through this weavy middle section of the circuit, through the right-hand kink at 5, which then leads immediately into this long right-hander of turn 6. Take that all the way around before we then double back on ourselves through the left-handers of 7 and 8. The quickest Mercedes so far is Andreas Simonson's HDP Mercedes, which is currently 3rd quickest with a 2-minute 3.3. Chandok currently 11th quickest, a second off that pace, and he hasn't got any quicker in sector 1 either.
And a bit more, to be honest. 1.5 seconds he's away from the overall quickest of Stephane Ortelli. That still stands at a 2:02.7 against the time that his teammate Van Thor did at 2:02.4. So 2.5, 3/10 of a second still in that quickest number 11 Audi with Stephane Ortelli. But I wonder what happens when Laurens Van Thor gets into the car. Can he repeat? Or is he going to improve?
That'll be very impressive. Chandok coming down then to complete the right-hander and complete his lap, or he may well actually come into the pits at the end of this run, or is he going to give it one more go? He's going to give it one more go. There's Carlos Vieira. Now that's he's decided, he's gone wide on 2, hasn't he, and bypassed the chicane.
I don't know whether he bypassed the chicane, but certainly it looked like he'd bypassed it, and well and truly rally crossing his way to get back onto the racetrack. So here he's running, he's too wide, too early. That's his problem. He was way too wide, too early in the exit of the corner. Does a good job keeping the car essentially pointing in a straight line, and bypasses the chicane. Well spotted, Jack, you got that one on. Back onto the track and drags a load of, well, you can see what he's just dragged onto the track. And for those that are following, that's all they need.
That's a repeat, really, of what happened to Albert von Turn and Taxis as Sebastien Loeb comes down to the final right-hander, the nose dropping as he comes in to the final corner.
And into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like he's backing off, doesn't it? Unless he's taking a bit of a run-up. No, he's taking a run-up, isn't he? For the final time, then Loeb will come across the line. What's he done so far? His teammate Andy Zuber's just jumped up into 5th position, and Loeb is running 7th quickest as he comes across the line. Out of the pit lane comes the second Seyfarth machine. Bit of correction on the way into turn 1, but neat and tidy so far.
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit shorter than a lap than Pikes Peak is, the famous hill in North America where he set a brand new world record, let alone a hill record. And but let's watch how he goes through the chicane. It's a middling, he gets through it cleanly, neatly, doesn't make any mistakes, doesn't take too much of the inside and the outside. So, and that's just sensible from Sebastien Loeb. Interesting the way he takes almost 2 apexes as he goes through turn 3. Other drivers are making it sort of a single apex and hugging the curb on the inside, gathering speed all the way through turns 4, 5, and this never-ending turn 6. I mean, you've almost got to take 3 bites of the cherry, and then it really cuts back aggressively on you.
Really working hard at the wheel, isn't he, Loeb? I don't think the car's quite where the Sebastien Loeb racing team wanted to be this weekend. He's having to deal with oversteer every time he turns into the corner, isn't he?
Well, you can see he turns and he's having to correct before he even gets to the apex, which is, to me, an uncomfortable way to drive a racing car. The reason they've got it like that is they want the sharp turn in, but the consequences of it are that you turn in aggressively to try and get your track position, your corner apex is correct. You can't offset that by having an oversteer, and then you've got to get out of the throttle again. And so, to me, I would like to see a car being driven on the rear wheels much more than driven on the front wheels, which I think is the case with Sebastien Loeb right now in his McLaren.
So the checkered flag is out. Stephane Ortelli will remain the quickest man in this session. Harry Prochik, 2nd quickest. Andreas Simonsen, 3rd quickest. unfortunately, the number 21 car of, Loeb's bailed on that one and come into the pits. Car 29, which is the second Seyfarth car of Hubert Haupt and Jensi Michael, hasn't managed to set a lap time because apparently it's got a rear left tyre puncture. And this is the 0 car, currently in the hands of Alain Cordair. His teammate Ricardo Zonta has just gone out onto the circuit, so for the first time in this session, because they were changing the gearbox in that 21 BMW after they've been suffering from a misfire all day, so troubles in the 21 car. But the BMW in theory should be relatively strong here as it comes through the left-hand kink and up over the long back straight now. Now we've got an Audi quickest, but we've also got Audi's 19th and 20th quickest.
I mean, Nicky Meyer-Melnhof in 19th, Edward Sandstrom 20th. 2 cars that have got potential to be on the provisional front row, and we do not have a report as to why those 2 cars are so slow where they're sister cars. Well, in fact, neither has done a time.
So as one BMW pulls into the pits, the other one is making its way around the far end of the circuit. Here is Ricardo Zonta, and this is his first flying lap out on the circuit. Oh no, but he's already taken the checker flag actually, hasn't he? So he managed to get in 1 flying lap, a 2-minute 5.9, and as he comes round the right-hander and heads back, he will be coming into the pits this time around. So Ortelli, the quickest man of anyone. That means we have therefore got 5 brands in the top 6 positions. We've got an Audi, a Lambo, a Mercedes, another Lambo, a McLaren and a Nissan. It's a good lap from Wolfgang Reip, actually.
Very good lap. I mean, he was at 1 point second quickest. Got knocked down the timing order a little bit in these remaining minutes of this first of the qualifying sessions. Nevertheless, good job. He is less than a second slower than the time from Stephane Ortelli, and we would not expect Wolfgang Reip to match the pace of Alex Brunkham, who's going to be in the car next. So seems a good match, good balance, certainly in terms of height, Reip and Brunkham. And it's important because we do the changes. Less to worry about when you get into the car, get out of the car, seat adjustments, belt adjustments, seat fillers, all the things that you've got to consider if you've got a variation in height between your 2 drivers.
So Zonta cruising back to the pits. Well, he's probably pushing quite hard because they've hardly had any laps today. They didn't get out in the second free practice session and only completed a handful of laps in the first. So time really of the essence for Zonta and his teammate Sergio Jimenez.
Point of interest from the free practicing that we had earlier today and today, a number of drivers on the entry to the pit lane were crossing the line that demarcates the beginning of the pit lane entry and the racetrack. And if you don't come in behind the line, in other words, you cut across it, you will be having the race director on your case. As a number of drivers, I think maybe about 8 or 9 drivers were guilty of that this morning. So they've had written warnings from the race director, and they will have to be really, really careful when it comes to the mandatory pit stops through both events. So
here you can see the top 12 positions for this first segment of qualifying, which doesn't tell us anything just yet. Stephane Ortelli quickest with a 2-minute 2.7. Harry Procek, the second quickest man, with a 2.9. Andreas Simonsen was quickest in first free practice session, and he has been quick again here with a 2-minute 3.34. And Peter Cox and Stefan Rosina will be a little frustrated that they can't beat Procek and Baumann. They'd have hoped to be challenging those guys, but unable to at the moment. But this is the first race actually for Harry Procek and Dominic Baumann with the 2013 specification Lamborghini. They've been running the 2012 spec up until now, got the 2013 on a couple of, about a month ago really, just after Zandvoort, and so it's proving to be worthwhile. And there you can see the 20 cars that we've had out there on the circuit, and 19th and 20th, the 2 Audis, way off the pace.
Well,
so
they didn't do any laps, basically. Yeah. I mean, they just did an out lap, and that's the time that they've got.
Maybe that's their saving tyres plan again.
It's up to the team to ultimately decide what is in their interests. And obviously, while there are plenty of tyres available, do you need to run unnecessarily, or do you save your tyres for when it really counts? And now it will really count, because it will be then ultimately at the end of the session the final top 10, and WRT will want to see those cars in that top 10. The car's got the pace. I'm sure the drivers have got the pace. Certainly Nicky Meyer-Melnhof doing a great job as the sort of the non-professional driver alongside René Rast.
And here's a look at the Audi R8 that is being run by WRT, the V10 engine with 560 brake horsepower. It's a great little car, very successful, winning the Blancpain Endurance Series last year. Stephane Ortelli and Laurens Vanthoor winning, or leading I should say, the championship so far this season. And it's really been a great performance from them. There you can see Meyer-Melnhof and René Rast. René, very interested to see what he can do in the car, because as you can see, 2012 Porsche Super Cup winner amongst many other titles.
But it's not just the performance and the reliability of the Audis, it's the professionalism of WRT, the team that run these cars.
Yeah.
They are such a well-oiled machine, and that, to me, is a significant part of their success.
Second qualifying session here at the Slovakia ring will start in about 20 seconds time, and after that we will know who is through to the final top 10 shootout for pole position. There you can see the pit lane exit as everyone gets ready to head out onto the circuit for what will be possibly a slightly more frantic session, because teams tend to send their slower drivers, or who they perceive to be their slower drivers, out in that first session, so that then the quicker drivers are left for when the track is at its best possible condition. As we see the number 6 BMW Sports Trophy Team India car head out onto the circuit. It's Philippe Sladecker at the wheel, a man who was raced in FIA GT3 in the past and now is here in the FIA GT Series at his home circuit. Also heading out of the pits there is well, Matthias Stumpf, according to the yes, it is Matthias Stumpf, isn't it? Patrick Kuhner did the first session, my apologies.
Matthias Stumpf is a fairly sort of Teutonic sounding name, but he's got Dalla Agnol in the middle. So is he a bit Italian as well as German?
Well, he's Brazilian as well, predominantly.
I mean, there are a lot of Germans in Brazil.
Yeah, so he's a real mixture of all the nationalities, is Matthias. As he heads out onto the circuit, this is the Blancpain chicane that winds the drivers through and up over the crest. It's a very tricky chicane. It's taken in about third gear, just slam it down a couple of gears and try and dive through as quickly as you can. It's very entertaining to watch there, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult corner because it goes on and on and on, and we've noticed some of the onboards that some drivers come in, take an early apex, run very wide out to the exit of the corner, then try to cut back and get a better straight line run, whereas others come in and hug the curb all the way around, and it's really a matter of what suits your particular style, maybe what your car prefers. The bottom line is what the stopwatch says at the end of the lap. So I don't think there's any one definitive line to that corner. It's just, you know, Hobson's choice.
There you can see Cesar Campanico out on circuit. Great to see that they rebuilt that car after the crash. Well, I think they're using a different car actually after their crash at Zandvoort, because it was red when it crashed and it's come out now yellow. So,
well, I thought it was red.
No, it's yellow now.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we had this colour argument earlier as the cars head out around the circuit. And yeah,
so I think the racetrack's green.
I think you've been doing this for too long, John. I think that's the answer. As we see then René Rast coming out of the pit lane in his day-glow fluorescent winglets, which is very kind of WRT. I was a little bit not annoyed with them in Zandvoort, but they decided to paint all their cars exactly the same. There was literally no differentiation between them, but they very kindly adjusted a few bits and bobs for us. There's the Seyfarth Mercedes, Jan Seyfarth at the wheel. He was gutted talking to him yesterday because they were running third in the Spa 24-hour race at one point, but then they broke down out there on the circuit during that race, so ended up not finishing, which was a real frustration.
Well, when you get to it, if you get within 22 hours of a 24-hour race, not finishing is heartbreaking. It is soul destroying. You've done all the long yards, you've done all the hard work, you're tired, all you want to see is the checkered flag, and I can fully understand his emotion.
So there's Sladecker winding his way out the far part of the circuit. The BMW Sports Trophy Team India squad are a great welcome to the series. Aman Ibrahim is coming up on the timing screens now. So, no, it's still Philipp Sledecka on the timing screen. So I think it is still Sledecka at the wheel of that car as it turns through the left-hander. A little bit of a twitch, a little bit of a dust kicked up as we come through now the very quick turn 9, where Stephane Ortelli had a massive moment last year. We were watching it earlier, weren't we, on YouTube?
I just was reminded about how big a moment it was. And I tell you what, Lady Luck was riding with Ortelli in that particular incident, because the car could have slammed the barrier as the BM kicks its tail out. Could have slammed the barrier on the outside, or as it shot across the track. I mean, literally took a diagonal charge, and how he didn't hit the barrier on the left-hand side of the track, he brought the car to safety undamaged, other than about maybe 100 kilograms of gravel stuffed up the radiator and the underbody and the tray. But it could have been a nasty moment for Stephane Ortelli, but he survived and moves forward.
And is now leading the championship as we arrive here this season. So out of the final corner comes Philipp Sledecka, and this is going to be a relatively, well, that's a decent lap time actually, a 2-minute 4.7. That's not bad at all. That'll put him kind of in the early teens, I'd say.
Keep an eye on Mike Parisi in the McLaren, also Stefan Rosina in the Lamborghini. He's got fastest second sector, and in fact Rosina's just gone second quickest overall on a 2:03.6. Still behind
Marc Basseng.
Marc Basseng, indeed. Welcome back, Mark. We're missing you.
Absolutely. He's back in the championship for this weekend, and hopefully, he says, for the rest of the season. So it's a Reiter Engineering 1-2. Here is Mike Parisi that John mentioned a moment ago, the Frenchman turning out of the final corner, the man who lives just meters from Pau, crosses the line to go quickest with a 2-minute 2.9. That would be good enough to get him into the top 10. So that's very good news at the moment anyway. Alain Coder has gone purple in Sector 2 in the 0 BMW. He comes across the line to go second quickest, a 2-minute 3.287. So good lap from the BMW there in the hands of the Brazilian Alain Coder. And look at this, very busy out there on the circuit, isn't it? This is Alvaro Parent in the sister machine being chased by René Rast. What's René done in this first sector? 38.9.
We're not seeing it purples so far. We're seeing purples Mike Parisi and also from Alain Coder, but not from the René Rast Audi, which we had hoped we would see. You know, again, challenging to get through to top 10 for qualifying the final run this afternoon.
Might have backed off a little bit, I think, in that middle sector, just to give him a little bit of space. Mike Parisi, the quickest man out there on the circuit, then a 2-minute 2.931. Here's René Rast into the final corner. Maximilian Buch has just gone third quickest with a 2-minute 3.3. Rast comes out of the corner, and this will put him in the mid 2-minute 3s, I'd say, maybe the high 2-minute 3s as he comes across the line. A 2-minute 3.2. Very good final sector.
Last sector was outstanding.
Yep.
Fastest of all. That's how outstanding it was. So not only did he get second quickest time, he got a fantastic run off that last turn 13, but 14's really just a curve, you don't count it. So it not only puts him second quickest, it sets him up to do a really good job. But Laurent Vanthor has just gone out on his first flying lap and is fastest in Sector 1.
Very good lap from Laurent Vanthor. He's 0.7 of a second quicker than René Rast was in Sector 1. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from Vanthor. He's really hooked up around this circuit as he comes through the left-hander at 9. He'll cross the second sector timing beam before too long.
Just watch the body language of Vanthor's car. Coming out over the bridge, everything looks the way I believe a racing car should look. It's being driven from the rear wheels, not from the front. He's able to get the power on. He can do that. He can run wide. He can use the car because he's got confidence, and confidence comes from having stability at the back of a race car, both under braking but under cornering as well.
He's kicking up dust everywhere out there on the circuit is Laurent Vanthor. He comes through the final corner. He's half a second up at the moment. This is surely going to comfortably be provisional pole position. Can he get a 2-minute 2.2, something like that? 2-minute 2.5. He lost time in the final sector. He was 0.4 off René Rast's time in the final sector as Dominic Baumann goes third quickest now. Just a little clarification, bit of confusion earlier. It was Aman Ibrahim and is Aman Ibrahim in the number 6 BMW, not Philipp Sledecka. So there's a problem with the transponder there as we go on board with Alvaro Parent through this chicane where he went off last year and tore the whole of the floor off the car. How are things looking for him here?
He's
first
been
lap.
in and out, yeah. So
this is an out lap, in fact.
Yeah, so we're not seeing anything on this lap, but 6 minutes, 20-odd seconds remaining. And it's all to play for. Pressure now on the hands, with the hands of Alvaro Parent to get this Sebastien Loeb Racing McLaren MP412C into the top 10. But it's getting very competitive. There is a second covering the top 7 cars. Marc Bassang, 7th quickest, and he's on a 2 minutes 3.6 against a 2 minutes 2.5 for Laurens Vanthoor. Somebody's run very wide on the exit as they go up turn 9, and that's one of the problems. It's a blind rise. You don't know what's on the other side of the hill as you drop down. Alex Buncombe in the Nissan.
Absolutely, coming down into the final corner, 10th quickest at the moment so far. Through the right-hander they come, and out onto the start-finish straight once again. On board we go with Alex.
Makes it look easy when it's very relaxed driving style. There's nothing aggressive about inputs on the car, steering particularly. Look, drops his hands down, sort of like only having a Sunday, or maybe in this case Saturday afternoon, evening run.
2 minute 4.3 on that last lap, very similar to his previous best, but didn't quite manage to improve.
He's just on the bubble on 10th place, so he needs to find a bit more time because he can be challenged from behind. We've still got to see Alvaro Parent, who is now, we think, about to go onto a flying lap, waiting to see his first sector time on a proper lap. It's always, sort of, you have to squeeze, you know what, when you go through that chicane every time. Now watch Buncombe's line, comes in early. He's actually holding the sort of line much. Others are taking it much further out. I prefer the Buncombe line for myself because you can load the front tyre, and as long as you're not getting into an oversteer or an understeer situation, that to me is the better line through turn 3.
Vanthoor has come into the pits after setting that 2 minute 2.5. Rene Rast has jumped up into second place now to do a 2 minute 2.6. So only, well, less than a tenth of a second between Vanthoor and Rast up at the front. Mike Parisi still 3rd quickest, Baumann still 4th quickest. I think it's Caca Bueno in the number 0 car who is 5th quickest at the moment. Maxi Buch has come into the pits, but he's only 6th quickest, so I think he will make it through to the top 10, Maxi Buch, but we'll need to hope that he doesn't get pushed out by a couple of the drivers behind. At the moment, the struggling surprise is Basseng and Rossina in the 2 Reiter Lamborghinis, only 7th and 9th quickest, as we continue on board with Alex Buncombe, running over those curbs, taking his hands totally off the wheel.
Yeah, I mean, of course, power steering in these cars means that the physical effort to steer is very low. Comes down into turn 13 again, the back end snaps. He's got to put a bit of opposite lock on and try to get the car back in. Very late apex on the exit of turn 13, lets the car release on the outside of the corner. Then it's almost just turn the wheel and let the car flow down in 11th place. That's disappointing.
Yep, 2 minute 4.265, which is his best lap of the session so far, but not quite good enough, as we see now. Marc Basseng, 7th place, 2 minute 3.6. He's done personal best in sector 1 and 2.
2 Lamborghinis, nose to tail.
He's got his teammate up in front, so whether that's a bit of
Parent goes quickest.
Yes, Alvaro Parent in the McLaren, was not expecting that. Leaps to the top of the timing screens. What can Marc Basseng do just to finish this off? He remains in 7th, or he moves up, I should say, 7th place. Maxi Buch is in danger of being pushed out here because he's down to 8th quickest in this session at the moment. But Alvaro Parent, where did that lap come from? He didn't set a purple.
The point is, he didn't set a purple anywhere, but he matched his personal best on all 3 sectors. So it indicates consistency now in the McLaren. Maybe for the first time in a long time we're seeing this McLaren handling like a racing car, and as a McLaren racing car should do.
Down into the hairpin.
Again, see the way he holds that line.
Yep.
He's not running out wide and cutting back. He gets it in, loads the left front wheel and just holds it there, doesn't force it but maintains a constant arc through the corner. Now looking much nicer than we saw in the hands of Sebastien Loeb.
He's well off in sector 1 though, a 39.0, so that's not going to be any good for him. Car 21 is reported as being slow on track, Sergio Jimenez. So that'll be a real shame as Parent really struggles to get the nose in there, doesn't he?
Well,
he's pushing.
He kept down the hill. Over into turn 10, he just was a little bit late in the brakes, and the whole car just said, we can't take any more punishment. It was actually going up through turn 9. That was coming through turn 8. So now drops down hard braking here into turn 10, then this phase, Mickey Mouse part of the racetrack through turn 10 and 11. Then the car through turn 12, you're on to what would be the second quickest part of this Slovakia ring racetrack. And but he's done the time, he's got the car in. But Kadir's gone fastest overall in that second segment, so keep an eye on Kadir in the BMW.
Well, here he comes. I think it's actually Caca Bueno at the wheel as he comes through the right-hander now. He's done purple in the middle sector, as you say, so this could be a strong circuit for the BMWs. It has been strong for the Z4s in the past. Is this going to launch Caca Bueno right up into the pole position fight? Fourth position, 2 minute 2.817. Good lap from Caca Bueno, and it's great to see the BMW Team Brazil squad really getting up and mixing it with the quick guys now. Through the right-hander he comes. This has pushed Maximilian Buch, I would say, maybe out of the top 10. And the reason I'm saying that so with such relevance is because him and Alan Day won the last race of the season when we were in Zandvoort back in, what was it? June we were there, weren't we? July we were in Zandvoort.
But I mean, Maximilian Buch right now has been flavour of the month because he won in Zandvoort, he won the Spa, Blancpain 24 hours. So he's just gotten across before the checkered flag. He probably had about 12 seconds in hand as he came across the line. So this is his one and only last opportunity to get that car into a better position, a more comfortable position, even though ninth you might think is just about enough, but you never ever know.
He has been in the pits for about 5 minutes of this session, and this is his first flying lap since coming out of the pits. So it's do or die now for Maxi Buch as he comes down. What's the sector 1 time going to be like?
Watch
a 39.2.
He runs slightly wider. He lets the Mercedes run out more from the curbing on the inside, then brings it back in again. Now that may just be his style. It might be what suits the car better. Remember, this is a mid-engine, front-engine car, the Mercedes-Benz big V8 engine. They backed off. He backed off. It looks like he's backed off to me.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Well,
so that's...
well, the checkered flag is out, so probably there's no threat from anybody else on the racetrack, and he's probably got an indication radio message from the team to say, you're safe, you don't need to push, keep the tyres, look after the tyres. Even though it's only a half a lap of this track remaining, look after those tyres.
Stefan Rosina then out on the circuit. He's gone personal best in sector 1. A pretty decent sector 2 actually. This could be a good old lap here for Stefan as he comes across the line. Currently 7th quickest, but he remains 7th quickest, a 2 minute 3.181, so 0.02 of a second slower than he has managed so far today. So that's 7th quickest for Rosina. Here into the final corner comes Dominic Baumann, who at the moment is 0.2 of a second slower. He's going to come into the pits, but he's 2 seconds of a second slower in that session than his elder statesman teammate, Mr. Harry Procek.
Well, maybe there's a lesson to be learned there. Be laid back, be relaxed, leave the hotel by the circuit at the last moment and jump in your car. Anyway, good job for Harry Procek to get that car and his teammate.
So the cars peel around and pull back into the pit lane, and before too long we'll be given the official list of who will be going through to the final section of qualifying. Aman Ibrahim staying out there to come across the line. Does he manage an improvement? No, he doesn't.
I just wonder, did he actually take the checkered flag twice? Because everybody else had come in, and I just wonder, has he actually gone past the checkered flag more than once? If he has, we'll get information, notification on our timing and scoring screens. It does happen from time to time when a driver's really lasered in and trying to get that one more lap, and if you're not paying attention to what's happening at the side of the track towards the end of a session, let's wait and see.
So car 13 had a bit of an off at turn 13. That is the car of Frank Stippler. But here's a look at the results of qualifying 2. A McLaren quickest here. Alvaro Parent at the wheel, going quicker just than Laurens Vanthoor up at the top. René Rast, the 3rd quickest. Caca Bueno, 4th quickest. Good news there for the BMW guys. Mike Parisi, 5th quickest. Dominic Baumann, 6th. And I would say that possibly most of these top 10 will be through to... will be the 10 that we see in the final shootout, I believe, if my rough maths is anything to go by, but we'll get confirmation in a few moments' time. And there you can see a very good lap from Michele Rugolo in the Gentleman's Trophy class. He is 12th quickest as we then go further down the field. The cars eligible for Super Pole then are 1, 2, 23, 24. So 2 of the HTP Charouz cars, the 2 Reiter Engineering Lamborghinis, plus the Grasser Racing Lamborghini. Then we've got car number 10, which is the Zuber and Parisi McLaren. We've got Caca Bueno going out there. We've got car number 12, which is going to be, René Rast, then Laurens Vanthoor, and then Alvaro Perez. So that'll be the order in which they go out. The 2 HTP Charouz cars will go out first, and the way it works is the cars are released from the pits at 20-second intervals. So car number 1, which is car number 1, in actual fact, Max Buch will go out of the pits. 20 seconds later, his teammate will go out, and you get 2 timed laps, and then basically, quickest man gets pole position. So here's a look at that little highlights package after that qualifying segment anyway. A little bit of a, whoa, big slide there. Well held by Michele Rugolo.
Yeah, he got it onto the dirty part of the racetrack. It is dusty offline, and if you run a wheel over the curbs, you're going to kick dust up. And Harry Project has been a man on a move, as Maximilian Buch has also been in the Mercedes. There was a scary moment running wide on the exit, way too early of turn 2.
Yep, big moment there for Carlos Vieira. A little bit of a shake as well for Sebastien Loeb as he came out of the chicane. There's Wolfgang Reip at the wheel of his Nissan GTR. A good performance from him. Did they manage then for them to get through into the final segment of qualifying? No, they didn't, as we see Jan Seifert kicking up some grass. So, in 2.5 minutes' time, we will have the final 10-minute session, which will decide the pole position for the qualifying race, and then the result of the qualifying race tomorrow morning will decide the order for the main race coming up tomorrow afternoon, both of which you can see live here on the internet and also on the television in various places.
What I would really love to see here at the Slovakia ring is a change being made to the flyover where the chicane is in front of. Just take that aggressive dip away from the flyover and let cars exit out of turn 2, have a really good run up to turn 3. I think it would make an exciting part of the racetrack, change the dynamic of it substantially, but until the owners of the operation here make that change to basically take the aggressive dip that is currently there away, we'll have to live with the chicane, particularly for cars that, you know, the pace that the GT cars are. They could get air under their nose. That could cause a problem.
Yep, absolutely. It all stems from when the FIA GT3 European Championship came back here in 2011 in a race that actually Mike Parisi won. So we expect him to be good around here, and he has been so far. There's a little rabbit.
No, it's a hare.
Is it a hare?
Just look at the size of its ears.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a hare.
Rabbits have quite big ears, don't they?
Look at the poor thing. It's
Someone needs to save it, actually, don't they? Is that on the track side?
It's by those barriers, and the poor thing's getting stressed. It's looking for an exit to find a way to safety. And I mean, if it was able to leap, it probably managed to jump over it. But I hate to see, you know, animals' nature like this in these circumstances. You're having.
Oh, that's okay. He's not. He's on the safe side. But I think to be there, you need a tabard, don't you? If you want to be that close to the guardrails, you can see the man down there's got a tabard on. Oh, that's the red zone actually, apparently. So you know, oh no, oh. I thought we were going to have a bit of a TV disaster moment there.
No, it'll make its way to safety. But you know, poor thing, get it out of let it get back to safety. Then it gets back to its family or whatever it is. No. And well, you get lots of nature around racetracks, particularly a circuit here that isn't used as frequently as, say, other circuits throughout Europe or maybe in Great Britain.
He's heading on to turn 6 now, so we'll see how that works out for him. Anyway, after that little interluditude, it's time to head back to the pole position shootout here at the Slovakia ring. 10-minute session, which, I mean, the 10 minutes actually doesn't really count for anything because it'll just be when the final car comes across the line to complete his lap. But the first car out is going to be car number 1, the car that won the race the last time out in Zandvoort. Alan Day and Maximilian Buch. Max Buch took the lead at the start of the race, handed over to Alan Day, and they dominated proceedings. And as the car heads out onto the circuit, it is Max Buch at the wheel, and he will be desperate to try and put in a stronger performance than they managed in the in those first 2 qualifying sessions.
Well, his first car on track, he's on an outlap, and it's a pretty quick outlap. For me, it'll be all about whether the team are opting to use a set of tyres that's been on the car, come in, make a change, put on a fresher set of rubber or the freshest you have available, and then go out and try and get the time. And remember, the fresher the tyre, the quicker the time, and with that fresh tyre, you will have one lap to get the maximum performance from it. So you can't really hang around too much. You've got to go out, know where you're going to do, have the car with you. As we see the Lamborghini, that's been very impressive. Dominic Baumann and Harry Project. Oh, this is the Mark Bessing car.
Yep,
Mark Bessing, you're getting accustomed to driving with power from the rear wheels.
I know.
Rather than one of those stupid race cars. That, I mean, racing, God did not design racing cars to be driven by the front wheels. Front wheels are there to steer the car. Rear wheels are there to drive the car. And, you know, what can you say? What can you say?
I don't know. I don't know. He's certainly enjoying being back out in a GT car. He enjoys being out and racing. The competition's very tough over in the World Touring Car Championship, but he says it's very nice to be back driving a proper car like the Lamborghini.
Yeah, I mean, that is a race car. Front-wheel drive race cars are compromises. You know, not engineering, just, what can I say?
I think you don't need to say any more.
Have I said enough? Have I gone too far or not yet?
Dominic Baumann then heading out onto the circuit. And I wonder if they thought about, you have to submit who is going to do your Super Pole session before the session starts. So there was probably a few people at the Grasso Racing Lamborghini squad thinking, well, probably would have been handy if we could have put out Harry Project because he's got an awful lot of pace. But here comes Maxi Buch then, down the start, finish straight. And towards the first corner. He's got 2 shots at this. You get 2 timed laps, and then the quickest one of those is the one you're stuck with for the grid. Runs a little bit wide, kicking up a bit of dirt, but nothing too dramatic.
No, that's good exit. You know, you're using the curb. There's dust in the curb itself. Again, using the curb on the run down into turn 2 to give them a little bit of extra angle to mitigate the turn itself. Then hard on the brakes into the chicane, which really doesn't count as a corner, but it is there. And then hard on the brakes down the hill into turn 3. Runs a lot of curb on the inside again. Seemingly likes to run the car more to the middle of turn 3, then cuts back. That's what suits him, suits the Mercedes.
So through the left-hander he comes. He's gone purple in sector 1, but that's simply because he's the first man to complete a sector 1. The young German racing driver who's been so impressive. Was never particularly impressive in single-seaters, but as soon as he moved into GT cars in 2011 with the Gravity Charoux squad, who actually essentially picked Buch purely on his talent. There were a few drivers that came and tested for the Gravity Charoux team, and they picked the ones that they were most impressed with, and that's why Baumann and Buch got the nod for 2012, sorry it was, wasn't it? Racing in the FIA GT3 European Championship. As we see him winding his way now out towards the back straight again. But as soon as he entered GT cars, he's been unstoppable.
Yeah, he's been very impressive, and it also helps the team that Max Buch is actually fairly short. He's maybe about, in old terms, about 5'5" or so, which means that relatively he's quite light, but he's got tons of ability and oceans of confidence, and he certainly knows how to make an SLS Mercedes-Benz work around any racetrack, be it Spa 24, Zandvoort, here at the Slovakia ring. Let's see his first time. Well, purple in second and third sectors, 203.1. Not good enough at the minute, but we don't know. We have to wait to see what the remaining 9 cars are going to do.
Yep, I think we're expecting a low 2-minute 2 really for pole position by the look of things as we look at Andreas Simonsen, who's gone fastest of anyone in sector 2. He was the quickest man of anyone in free practice 1 as well. So Andreas comes across the line. Is this going to be any better? A 2-minute 2.6. That's well in the mix for his first time lap. Don't forget he'll get another bash at it as we see Marc Basseng coming up to the final corner now. He's gone okay in both sectors. Not particularly stunning for Basseng at the moment, but he might be winding up to have a little bit more of an attack on the second lap as he comes across the line. He will go third quickest with a 2-minute 3.3.
We've got lots of purples appearing. First sector, Mike Parisi. Second sector, Stefan Rosina in the Lamborghini. So let's see what the Lamborghini is going to do. His personal best in the first sector, so that's a good run. 2 minutes, 2.1, fastest lap of the weekend.
Very good run from Stefan Rosina. Mike Parisi's gone even quicker though in sector 1, as John said. and Racina will have another chance as well, as here we see Dominic Baumann coming into the final corner. 39.0 in sector 1 is not cracking. The middle sector's been okay, so it'll be an average lap this. Laurens Vanthoor looking very quick in sector 1.
Is he ever?
As he comes across the line. Dominic Baumann at 2-minute 3.1, which puts him up to 4th quickest at the moment.
Well, it's going to be this car, Mike Parisi, potentially could take himself into the top 3 comfortably, but the real threat, I think, is going to come from car 11, Laurens Vanthoor, WRT Audi. He is almost 2/10 up in that first sector on Mike Parisi, who was previously quickest in that first sector. And René Rast, the sister car to Vanthoor, quickest in second sector as we look at the BMW.
Parisi's gone quickest overall then, a 2-minute 1.956, but here comes Alain Coder at the wheel of this BMW, and he does a 2-minute 2.7. Decent effort, nothing spectacular, but we're waiting for the 2 WRT Audis to come across the line really, because Vanthoor and Rast are going to be the ones to watch. Alvaro Parent has pretty much matched. Across the line comes Rast to do a 2-minute 1.7. I was going to say Parent has matched Vanthoor in sector 1. Here comes Laurens Vanthoor down into the final corner. The young chap from Belgium has done an okay middle sector. He's about 0.6 of a second slower than Rast's middle sector.
A lot of time to be down on your teammate René Rast in that middle sector. Now, is there maybe traffic? We don't know. Well, he goes
third quickest.
Yeah, third quickest, but he's, 0.3 of a second away as we go back to the McLaren as it comes down into this final turn 13.
Here comes Alvaro Parent then. He's done personal bests, obviously, in sectors 1 and 2. Overall, the lap times are not stunning from Parent. This will put him up into the top 5. A few of our drivers have completed their best laps now as we go on board with Parent, third quickest, 2-minute 2.0, but these quick guys have still got one more lap to go. Rast, Mike Parisi, Alvaro Parent and Laurens Vanthoor, I think, are going to be they are going to be the 4 men to watch, because Racina has completed his lap times. Unless Alain Coder and Dominic Baumann can throw something special out the bag, it's between the 2 McLarens and the 2 Audis. There you can see Maxi Buch. He's completed all his timed laps. His session is over. He'll finish in 9th place. What's this? René Rast running wide, running big time wide.
Yeah, he just overran into the chicane, just had to take a more acute exit, and as a consequence ran wide off the racetrack. That'll have lost him a little bit of time.
Parisi's had a shocker in sector 2, and as a result he comes across the line and doesn't improve, so it's only going to be second at best for Mike Parisi. Who else have we got out there then? Parent hasn't done a great sector 1. Vanthoor's done a good sector 1. It'll all be down to Vanthoor's middle sector, I think, as to whether he can snatch this pole position away from his teammate René Rast. Here is Alvaro Parent. His sector 1 is decent, but not really good enough unless he can find something amazing in the final few sectors. Here is Laurens Vanthoor, though. His middle sector is a 59.2. Again, well down on René Rast. I think this is René Rast's pole position, Vanthoor comes out of the final corner. Can he make it an all-Audi front row, though? That's going to be the question. On the grass, on the exit, he's pushing super hard. Vanthoor comes across the line and can't improve. He remains in 4th position overall. So, but for the dotting the I's and crossing the T's, I think this is going to be René Rast's pole position, because Alvaro Parent is 2 seconds off in the middle sector. He must have made a mistake somewhere out there.
It's not a mistake. I think that's what I alluded to earlier in the session. Your first flying lap on whichever set of tyres you've got on the car is going to be your quickest lap. If you don't get it done on the first flying lap, your second lap will not match the potential. And I think that was the case of Laurens Vanthoor. Whatever happened on his first flying lap, he didn't get it done. He's now in 4th place. His teammate René Rast on a 2:01.717, stunning time, over a quarter of a second quicker, or just a quarter of a second quicker than Mike Parisi in this first of the 2 Sebastien Loeb McLarens.
So there's our pole sitter for tomorrow's qualifying race. René Rast, the German superstar, after dominating Porsches. He's also been very competitive in Audis. He won the Spa 24-hour race in an Audi last season, and he has taken pole position for this one. And René Rast and Niki Mermanov becoming the first men to take 2 pole positions in the season so far. because they took pole in the opening race at Nogaro.
That wasn't in the script, I was told.
Well, absolutely. A lot of people not really expecting Audis to be strong this weekend. Audi weren't expecting themselves to be strong, but that switch...
Yeah, but remember the switch to 2012 wing on the car. It's not the wing per se, it's what the wing does, how it interacts with other aerodynamics on the car, and it's about balance, it's about confidence.
Yep.
And WRT wouldn't have done this because it's pretty, or because you've got nice circles on the rear wing indicating this is an Audi. You know, you're not going to mistake it for a McLaren, are you? It's about balance, about confidence.
Absolutely, and there are more changes to the 2012 spec, just the wing is the kind of noticeable one that pins it out. So there is the grid for tomorrow's qualifying race. A very good performance from Sebastien Loeb Racing, comfortably their best team qualifying performance of the season, because Mike Parisi and Andy Zuber will start from second on the grid with Loeb and Parent behind in third position. It's going to be an entertaining race tomorrow. The top 5 cars covered by just 0.4 of a second. Peter Coxon, Stefan Rosina there, you can see, in 5th position. 6th place for Andreas Simonsen and Sergei Afanasiev. Alain Coder and Caca Bueno will start in 7th place, a second off the quickest lap time of anyone. Harry Prochik and Dominic Baumann, 8th quickest. Alan Day and Max Buch will be very frustrated with a 9th position. Albert von Turn in Texas, and Marc Basseng getting through to the top 10 and will start in 10th position. So a very entertaining qualifying session here at the Slovakia ring ahead of the race that we have coming up tomorrow when the cars headed out onto the circuit. The Audis weren't particularly well fancied, but a few moments here and there. That was for the number 50A, of course, of Ferrari. Michele Rugolo having a bit of a moment. We saw Carlos Vieira run wide there. That was him kicking up all the dust. Then there was a bit of an intra-Lambo battle. And then across the line came Alan Day. And then Carlos Vieira had another big moment coming out of turn 2, but he managed to keep it all together. But the Audis tomorrow are going to face a stern attack, aren't they, from the McLarens?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be about, first of all, grid position, and then maintaining that position. And it's going to be about how does your car work during that first 25 minutes or up to 35 minutes before the mandatory pit stops. And you're going to have very good drivers in their cars for that first stint. But conditions in the morning for the qualifying race are going to be entirely different to those that we saw. This poor hare making its way around the racetrack, slightly confused, making its way to the fast food outlets, but can't find a way to them.
Looking for a bit of schnitzel as the WRT of Laurens Vanthoor came across the line. He wasn't quick enough, despite having a bit of a moment with René Rast down at the chicane. He was the man to go quickest of anyone and take pole position ahead of tomorrow's qualifying race here at the Slovakia ring. So an entertaining qualifying session. Many thanks for joining us for it. Make sure you join us tomorrow morning for the qualifying race. It's the main race in the afternoon as well. All the action from round 4 of the FIA GT Series.